Most people have no idea that hidden inside their beloved avocado is a naturally occurring toxin. Not in the way that sounds dramatic, but in the way that's quietly overlooked by most nutrition blogs, even by some well-meaning dietitians. It's called persin. And while it doesn't appear on any nutrition label, it's present in every single avocado you eat. Persin is a fungicidal compound produced by the avocado plant to protect itself from mold and insects. It's found in the highest concentrations in the leaves, bark, and seeds bud. Even the flesh we eat contains small amounts. For most healthy adults, that might not sound alarming. After all, if avocados were dangerous, surely someone would have sounded the alarm by now, right? Here's where things get more nuanced. In laboratory studies, what we call in vitro persin-rich extracts from avocado were shown to cause DNA damage in human white blood cells. The research doesn't suggest this happens in everyone who eats an avocado. Our livers are remarkably efficient at breaking down plant-based compounds. But it does raise an important medical question. What happens when someone eats large amounts of avocado every single day for months or years? Let me give you a real-world example. I once had a patient, a 58-year-old man, who came to me complaining of extreme fatigue and odd skin reactions. He had recently switched to a plant-forward diet and was eating 1 or 2 avocados a day. His blood tests were mostly normal except for signs of oxidative stress and elevated liver enzymes. When we adjusted his diet to reduce avocado intake to just 3 times per week and he removed the pit blending smoothies he'd been making, his symptoms improved dramatically. The issue is not that avocados are toxic in a conventional sense. The issue is bioaccumulation and individual tolerance. Some people may be more sensitive to even low levels of compounds like persin, especially those with sluggish liver detox pathways, genetic variations in metabolizing plant phenols, or compromised immune systems. There's also the concerning animal data. In birds, persin causes rapid heart rate, difficulty breathing, and even death. In mammals like goats and horses, it can trigger severe inflammation of the mammary glands and heart muscle. While we are more resistant as humans, these effects are signals not to fear but to respect what's in our food and how our body processes it. If you're eating avocado every single day, blending the pit into smoothies, or using avocado leaf tea, yes, that's a thing, you may be overexposing your system to a compound your liver has to work hard to eliminate. This doesn't mean you should stop eating avocados altogether, but it does mean you should pay attention. One strategy I often recommend is a rotation model. Use avocados 4 to 5 days a week, then take a couple of days off. That gives your body time to reset and reduces the risk of sensitization or buildup. And always avoid eating the seed, the skin, or anything made from the leaf, especially in tea form. After 50, our detox systems don't work quite as efficiently. Liver enzyme activity declines. Antioxidant defenses are slower to respond, and what we once tolerated at 30 might now become a stressor at 60. That's not fear, that's physiology. The truth about avocados is not that they're bad, it's that they're powerful. And anything powerful deserves to be used with wisdom, moderation, and respect for your individual biochemistry. Avocados are one of nature's most celebrated foods. They've earned a health halo for good reason, rich in monounsaturated fats, fiber, potassium, and a host of essential nutrients. They support heart health, blood sugar control, and even brain function. But if there's one thing I've learned in over 3 decades of medical practice, it's this. Too much of a good thing can quietly become a problem, especially after 50. Let's talk numbers. A single medium avocado has about 250 to 320 calories. That's the same calorie load as a cheeseburger, a slice of deep dish pizza, or a generous portion of pasta. But because the avocado comes with a health label, most people don't think twice. It feels natural, clean, wholesome. So they eat the whole thing, maybe even daily. And if they're trying to eat clean, they may even add it to smoothies, salads, sandwiches all in one day. What they often don't realize is that the calories add up quickly. One half in the morning with toast, another half at lunch on a wrap, a few spoonfuls blended into a shake. That's 400–500 calories just from avocado. For a person in their 30s with an active metabolism, the body may adjust. But after 50, everything changes. Let me explain. Starting in our mid-40s, we begin to lose muscle mass at a rate of 1–2% per year if we're not strength training. Muscle is metabolically active tissue. Less muscle means fewer calories burned at rest. Add in hormonal changes, declining estrogen, testosterone, and growth hormone, and your metabolic rate can slow by up to 20%. This means your body requires fewer calories to maintain the same weight. But most people don't reduce their intake, they continue eating the way they always have, unaware that their maintenance level has quietly shifted downward. I remember one of my longtime patients, Susan, age 63. She had recently adopted a whole foods lifestyle after retiring. She was walking daily, cooking at home, and proud of cutting out processed snacks. Her go-to lunch? A salad with avocado, nuts, grilled chicken, olive oil dressing, and a piece of whole grain bread. It sounded perfect until we tracked it. That salad alone was nearly 900 calories. Over time, those extra calories added up. In 6 months, she'd gained almost 10 pounds despite her best efforts. This is what I call the calorie trap. It's not about eating badly, it's about eating well, but eating too much, especially too much fat. Even good fats. Avocados are more calorie-dense than most people assume. 1 tablespoon of mashed avocado has about 50 calories. A generous scoop on your plate could easily be 150–200 calories. Now let's layer in the psychological trap. Because it's healthy, we often don't count it. We don't make room for it in the rest of our meal. We add avocado, but we keep the cheese, the dressing, the oil. We stack calories without knowing. It's not malicious. It's just easy to do, especially when you're trying to eat right. The solution isn't to fear fat. It's to manage it wisely. I advise my patients to treat avocado like a concentrated source of fuel, useful but potent. Instead of adding it to meals, substitute it for another fat. If you use avocado, skip the oil. If you're spreading avocado on toast, don't add butter too. If your salad includes avocado, go lighter on the dressing, or better yet, use lemon juice and herbs. Portion control is essential. The research consistently shows that 50 grams of avocado per day, about 1/3 of a medium fruit, is the sweet spot. Enough to provide benefit without contributing to excess weight gain. If you're eating more than that, especially regularly, you need to adjust somewhere else in your diet. And here's one more thing to consider. As we age, our sense of hunger and satiety becomes less accurate. That's right, the natural signals that tell us we're full become less reliable. It's easy to overeat and not even feel it. That's why awareness and intentional eating become crucial after 50. Start by tracking, just for 1 week. Write down your avocado portions, what you eat with them, and your energy and digestion after meals. You'll likely discover patterns you didn't expect. You may find you feel just as satisfied with less if your meals are well-balanced and mindful. Avocados are not the enemy, but they are not neutral either. They are rich, dense, and metabolically active. They deserve your respect. And after 50, every calorie counts more than it used to. Choose wisely. Replace, don't stack. And let your meals reflect where your body is now, not where it was 20 years ago. Most people don't think twice before slicing into an avocado. It's just a fruit, right? Safe, healthy, creamy, and deeply woven into our culture of clean eating. But for a surprising number of people, that harmless bite can trigger an immune response that's anything but mild. This is a condition I've seen far more often than people realize. and it's known as latex fruit syndrome. It's a medical phenomenon in which individuals allergic to natural rubber latex also react to certain fruits, especially avocados. In fact, among all fruits studied, avocados are one of the most likely to trigger a cross-reaction in latex-sensitive individuals. Let me give you a real example. A nurse in her early 50s came to see me with a puzzling set of symptoms. Every time she had guacamole, her mouth tingled, her lips swelled slightly, and her throat felt tight. She brushed it off for months until one evening, after a casual dinner with friends, her symptoms escalated to full-body hives and difficulty breathing. What we discovered changed everything. She had developed a latex allergy from years of wearing gloves in clinical settings, and the avocado she loved was now a hidden trigger. Here's the science behind it. Natural latex, derived from the sap of rubber trees, contains proteins that closely resemble those found in certain plant-based foods. Your immune system, once sensitized to latex, may mistakenly identify similar proteins in fruits like avocado as dangerous. The result? It launches a defensive allergic reaction. This can range from mild itching in the mouth to more severe responses, including swelling of the face, digestive distress, rapid heartbeat, and in rare cases, anaphylaxis. Avocados contain proteins known as class I chitinases, which share structural similarities with Havana major allergen found in latex. These molecular similarities are enough to confuse the immune system of someone with a latex allergy, especially if that person is unaware of their sensitivity. This isn't rare. Studies estimate that between 30 to 50% of individuals with latex allergy will also react to at least one food, avocado being one of the top offenders, along with bananas, chestnuts, and kiwis. And because these reactions often begin subtly, many people fail to connect the dots. They might feel off after eating guacamole, experience itching or bloating, but never suspect an allergy. The risk is even higher for people who've had repeated latex exposures, as healthcare workers, housekeepers, food industry employees, and anyone who's undergone multiple medical procedures involving latex gloves or catheters. Over time, the immune system becomes more reactive, and at a certain threshold, even trace amounts of these food proteins can tip the balance. For those over 50, this risk becomes more significant. That's because immune regulation becomes less efficient with age. Our bodies become more prone to overreaction, less adept at distinguishing friend from foe. What was once a mild intolerance in your 30s might evolve into a full-blown allergy in your 60s. So, what should you look for? Early signs include tingling or itching in the lips, mouth, or throat right after eating avocado. Some experience mild swelling, a scratchy throat, or redness around the mouth. These are often brushed off, but repeated exposure can lead to escalating reactions: full-body rash, nausea, abdominal cramping, or even respiratory symptoms. If you've ever had an unexplained reaction to avocado, to bananas, chestnuts, or latex, it's worth getting tested. Skin prick testing or serum IgE tests can identify sensitivities. More importantly, an accurate diagnosis can prevent a life-threatening event down the road. For my patients who test positive for latex allergy, I recommend complete avoidance of avocado until they've worked with an allergist. In some cases, limited exposure may still be tolerated, but it must be managed cautiously. There is no benefit to pushing through just a little reaction, especially when safer alternatives exist. This isn't fear-mongering. It's about informed choices. You wouldn't ignore a peanut allergy. You wouldn't serve shrimp to someone with a shellfish reaction. Avocados deserve the same respect because for the right person, they can be deeply healing. But for the wrong person, they can be dangerous. I've seen patients go years without realizing that their unexplained fatigue, digestive issues, or skin problems were tied to this very issue. And once we removed the trigger, they felt a kind of relief they hadn't experienced in years. That's the power of clarity, and that's why this part of the avocado story deserves more attention than it gets. Avocados feel clean, smooth, safe. You slice one open, and the soft green flesh inside feels like nature's butter, pure, untouched. But here's something many people, including health-conscious adults, rarely consider. That same soft texture and moisture-rich interior also make it the perfect breeding ground for bacteria if handled improperly. And unfortunately, most of us have been handling them wrong for years. I've seen this play out firsthand with patients who couldn't figure out why they were getting recurring digestive issues, bloating, cramps, nausea, that didn't seem tied to any known intolerance. For one woman in her 50s, it turned out her daily avocado habit was part of the problem. She'd prep her breakfast the night before, slicing an avocado, covering it loosely in foil, and leaving it in a lunch container on the kitchen counter. By morning, the fruit looked fine, but it had sat for 7 to 8 hours at room temperature. The symptoms didn't show up right away, but with repeated exposure, her gut microbiome began to react. Let's break this down. Avocados grow in warm, humid, climate-ideal conditions, not just for fruit, but for bacteria. During harvesting and shipping, the outer skin of the avocado may come in contact with dirt, animals, human hands, or water sources contaminated with harmful pathogens. The skin of an avocado is rough and porous, which means it can trap bacteria like Salmonella, Listeria monocytogenes, or E. coli deep in its crevices. And because we don't eat the skin, many people assume there's no reason to wash it. But here's the critical mistake. When you slice into an unwashed avocado, your knife becomes the transfer tool. It picks up bacteria from the outer surface and drags it through the flesh, the part you eat. This isn't theory. It's been documented in multiple food safety studies. In one investigation by the FDA, nearly 1 in 5 avocados tested positive for Listeria on the skin, and a smaller percentage even showed contamination inside the flesh, likely from cross-contamination during slicing. The second issue is storage temperature. Avocados, once cut, become highly perishable. Their high moisture content, neutral pH, and soft tissue make them a dream environment for bacterial growth. If left at room temperature even for just a couple of hours, the risk rises significantly. Food safety experts define the danger zone as temperatures between 40 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. In this range, bacteria can double in number every 20 minutes. Now imagine, you make a salad for lunch at 8 a.m., toss in some fresh avocado, seal it in a container, and leave it on your desk until noon. That's 4 hours in the danger zone. The avocado still looks fine. It may not smell, but that doesn't mean it's safe. The risk is especially high for adults over 50, whose digestive and immune systems may not be as robust as they once were. After 50, our stomach acid production tends to decrease. That means less natural defense against ingested bacteria. A dose of Listeria that might pass unnoticed in a teenager could trigger days of fatigue, diarrhea, or even more serious illness in someone 60, and especially if they're on medications that suppress immunity or have underlying conditions. So, what's the safe way to handle avocados? First, always wash the entire avocados, even the skin, with cold running water for at least 30 seconds before cutting. Use a soft brush if possible. Then dry it with a clean cloth. This alone can dramatically reduce your risk. Second, once you cut an avocado, you start the clock. If you're not eating it immediately, store it in an airtight container in the refrigerator and use it within 24 to 48 hours. Don't leave cut avocado on the counter. Not for an hour, not even for 30 minutes if the room is warm. And third, avoid touching the flesh with your hands. Use clean utensils. If you're preparing food for others, especially children or older adults, be even more cautious. Food safety is invisible. It doesn't announce itself until it's too late. I've had patients improve their digestion, reduce bloating, and even resolve recurring skin issues by changing how they store and prepare avocados. It's a small shift with a potentially huge payoff. Avocados are a gift from nature, but like any fresh food, they're perishable, delicate, and easily mishandled. After 50, the risks of foodborne illness become more serious, not just uncomfortable, but potentially dangerous. Wash, store, and respect your avocado. Your gut will thank you. Avocados seem like the last thing that could interfere with your medications. They're natural, plant-based, full of nutrients. Most people think of medication interactions in terms of alcohol, grapefruit juice, or antibiotics. Not a green fruit they've been told to eat more of. But the truth is, for millions of adults over 50 who take daily medications, avocados can quietly and significantly alter how those drugs behave in the body. Let me give you an example. One of my longtime patients, Mr. Jenkins, was in his early 70s. He had a stable heart condition and was taking warfarin, a common blood thinner. At his daughter's urging, he began eating more avocadosone every day. Within 6 weeks, his blood tests showed his INR levels had dropped significantly, meaning his blood was clotting faster than it should. We traced the change back to his diet. He had unknowingly increased his intake of vitamin K, and his medication could no longer do its job effectively. It was a quiet shift, but it could have had life-threatening consequences. Here's why that happened. Vitamin K is essential for blood clotting. Blood thinners like warfarin work by reducing the action of vitamin K in the body. When you eat a consistent amount of vitamin K, your doctor can adjust the medication dose accordingly. But if you suddenly increase your intake by eating a lot of high K foods like avocados, spinach, or kale, your medication may not be enough to keep your blood at a safe thickness. The result? Increased risk of blood clots, strokes, or heart attacks. Most people don't realize avocados contain a moderate amount of vitamin K, about 21 micrograms per 100 grams. That's less than leafy greens, but more than many other fruits. If you eat avocados occasionally, this isn't a problem. But daily consumption, especially in large portions, can shift your vitamin K levels enough to interfere with medication. And that's not the only risk. Avocados are also extremely high in potassium, almost 1,000 milligrams per cup. For reference, that's more than twice the amount found in a banana. This matters greatly if you're on medications that affect potassium balance. ACE inhibitors, Arkansas bees, potassium-sparing diuretics, common drugs used to treat high blood pressure or heart failure all increase potassium retention. Add a high potassium diet on top of that, and you may develop hyperkalemia, dangerous condition where excess potassium disrupts the electrical signals in your heart. Symptoms of hyperkalemia can be subtle at first: muscle weakness, fatigue, irregular heartbeat. But if left unchecked, it can lead to cardiac arrest. And the cause could be as simple as a heart-healthy smoothie you thought was doing you good. Patients with chronic kidney disease are particularly vulnerable. Their kidneys can't eliminate excess potassium efficiently. I've seen patients end up in the ER with severe electrolyte imbalances, all because they added daily avocado to their renal diet without discussing it with their nephrologist. And then there are diabetes medications. Avocados are high in fiber and healthy fats, both of which slow gastric emptying. That sounds beneficial, and often is. But if you're taking medications like insulin or sulfonylureas, this slower absorption can create mismatches in timing. Your medication might peak before your glucose does, causing sudden drops in blood sugar. I once treated a woman who experienced dizzy spells every afternoon after lunch. We realized she was eating half an avocado with her meal, and her insulin was kicking in faster than her food was being digested. It's not that avocados are dangerous, it's that they're active. They do things in the body: alter nutrient absorption, change electrolyte balance, slow digestion. And when you're taking medications that rely on stable conditions in your blood, even small shifts can matter. So what should you do? First, Never make a sudden change to your avocado intake, either increasing or cutting it out, without letting your doctor know, especially if you're on blood thinners, heart medications, or diabetes drugs. Second, if you're taking warfarin or similar medications, aim for consistency. Don't avoid vitamin K entirely, that's a myth. Just keep your intake steady so your doctor can dose accordingly. Third, if you're taking potassium-sensitive medications, monitor your blood levels regularly. If you love avocados, talk to your provider about how much is safe based on your kidney function and medication profile. And finally, pay attention to your body. If you notice new symptoms, fatigue, irregular heartbeat, swelling, dizziness, think about what you've changed in your diet. Sometimes the culprit isn't a new pill, but a new habit. In medicine, the most important truths are often the quietest. Avocados aren't neutral. They're powerful. And like any powerful food, they need to be respected, especially when they're sharing the stage with your prescriptions. Avocados are celebrated for their nutritional profile: healthy fats, fiber, potassium, antioxidants. They're one of the few foods almost everyone agrees is good for you. But what I've learned after seeing thousands of patients over the years is this: no food is good for everyone, not even avocado. It's a message I often find myself repeating in the exam room. People come in confused, frustrated. They've been doing everything right, eating whole foods, cutting out sugar, exercising, but they feel worse: bloating, brain fog, skin flare-ups, fatigue after meals. And when we dig deeper through diet diaries and food recall, avocados are often a daily staple. Let me share one story that stayed with me. A woman in her late 50s, very health conscious, came to me with persistent joint pain and bloating. She had tried cutting out gluten, dairy, and even nightshades, but nothing changed. It wasn't until we removed avocado that things began to improve. Within 3 weeks, her energy returned, her digestion stabilized, and her joint inflammation reduced significantly. She didn't have a classic allergy. She wasn't intolerant in the textbook sense. But her body, for reasons unique to her, did not tolerate avocado well. This kind of sensitivity is more common than people realize. It doesn't show up on standard allergy tests. It may not involve histamine or cause hives. Instead, it operates through slower, subtler immune pathways. You eat the food, and within hours or sometimes the next day you feel off. You might blame age, stress, sleep, or hormones. Rarely do people suspect a single healthy food like avocado. Here's what happens. The gut is lined with a complex immune system. Nearly 70% of your body's immune cells live there. As we age, that immune system changes. It becomes more reactive in some ways, less precise in others. The lining of the gut may become more permeable, a phenomenon sometimes called leaky gut, allowing food proteins to interact with immune cells in ways they didn't before. Foods that were tolerated at 3/5 of may begin to cause inflammation at 55. Avocados, while low in natural allergens, contain several bioactive compounds that can trigger sensitivity in susceptible individuals. These include salicylates, found in many fruits, amines, produced during ripening, and small-chain carbohydrates that ferment in the gut known as FODMAPs. For someone with irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, these FODMAPs can be a major trigger for gas, bloating, and cramping. It's also worth noting that the fat content in avocados, while healthy, can overwhelm a sluggish digestive system. As we age, our gallbladder function may decline. We produce less bile. That means breaking down and absorbing fats becomes harder. After a fatty meal even, a healthy one, like avocado toast, you may feel heavy, sluggish, or nauseated, simply because your body can't process the load efficiently. These reactions aren't in your head. They're biochemical, and they deserve to be taken seriously, even if the food causing them is considered healthy by the general public. Another area of concern: Oral allergy syndrome. This is a mild form of food allergy, where certain fruits trigger a tingling or itchy sensation in the mouth and throat. It's most common in people with pollen allergies, particularly birch or ragweed. Avocado is one of the fruits that can cross-react in this syndrome, especially during allergy season. Again, not dangerous but uncomfortable and cumulative over time. What can you do if you suspect avocado isn't sitting well with you? First, try a gentle elimination. Remove it completely for 3 to 4 weeks, then reintroduce a small amount and watch closely for symptoms over 48 hours. Keep a journal. Note any changes in mood, digestion, skin, joints, or energy. The body speaks quietly, but if you listen carefully, it often tells you exactly what it needs. Second, work with a nutritionist or a physician who understands food sensitivity. Don't just rely on skin tests. They miss these slow, delayed reactions. A good clinician will help you see patterns that may not be obvious. And third, trust your experience. Just because a food is praised in the headlines doesn't mean it's right for your body. Personalized nutrition isn't a trend, it's a necessity. Especially after 50, when your physiology is changing more rapidly than you may realize. I'm not here to demonize avocado. In the right person, it can be a healing food. But in the wrong body, it can quietly stir up inflammation, fatigue, and discomfort. And too often, people suffer for months or even years because they never suspected the green fruit they thought was saving them might actually be part of the problem. Avocados have achieved almost mythical status in modern nutrition. For the past 2 decades, they've been promoted as a superfood rich in good fats, fiber, antioxidants, and nutrients that supposedly support everything from heart health to brain function. But in medicine, we learn to look beyond the headlines, because in truth, no food is all good or all bad. And when a food gets celebrated too loudly, it's often the nuance that gets lost. Here's the real story. Avocados can be incredibly beneficial, but only when used appropriately, in the right context, and by the right person. Let's start with the benefits. Avocados are rich in monounsaturated fats, particularly oleic acid, which has been linked to reductions in inflammation and improved cholesterol profiles. In patients with metabolic syndrome, a condition affecting nearly 1 in 3 adults over 50, this can be meaningful. Studies have shown that moderate avocado consumption can help lower LDL cholesterol, raise HDL, and reduce triglycerides, especially when it replaces saturated fat in the diet. They're also an excellent source of potassium, far more than a banana, and this helps support healthy blood pressure. That's important because nearly 70% of adults over 60 have elevated blood pressure, and dietary potassium is one of the most effective tools we have for gentle, natural control. Then there's the fiber. One avocado delivers about 10 grams of fiber, nearly half of what most adults need in a day. That supports digestive health, blood sugar regulation, and the gut microbiome, all of which are especially important as we age. Bloated. This is the part most health articles skip. None of these benefits exist in isolation. If you eat an avocado instead of a cheeseburger, your body thanks you. But if you eat it on top of your regular intake, without adjusting anything else, you may simply be adding extra fat and calories with no net gain. It's the halo effect that tricks people. Because it's healthy, they assume more is better. They eat a whole avocado with lunch, another half at dinner, then add slices to their morning toast or blend it into smoothies. Over time, this adds hundreds of calories per day and shifts fat ratios that may no longer suit their metabolism. That's why I tell my patients, the secret isn't in the avocado, it's in the balance. Food is never just about nutrients. It's about context. Who's eating it? What medications they're taking? What their liver is doing? How their gut is functioning? How well they sleep? How much they move? One man's medicine is another's migraine. That's the reality of personalized nutrition. I've had patients who thrive on a third of an avocado per day, lower cholesterol, improved digestion, better energy, and I've had patients who became inflamed, bloated, or tired from the same amount. That doesn't make avocado bad. It makes it powerful, and powerful things require precision. So what do I recommend? First, eat avocado as a replacement, not an addition. If you're adding avocado to your meal, take something else: out cheese, mayo, dressing, butter. Don't double up on fats just because one feels healthier. Second, watch your portions. For most adults, over 50, 75 grams of avocado a day, about 1/3 of a medium fruit is plenty. More than that regularly can tip the scale, especially if your activity level is low or your metabolism has slowed. Third, listen to your body. If you feel tired, gassy, foggy, or heavy after eating avocado, don't ignore that signal. Try a week without it and see what changes. You may be surprised at how something healthy was quietly taxing your system. And finally, don't get caught in food worship. No single food will save you. No single food will heal your heart, flatten your belly, or sharpen your mind. But every food, when chosen wisely, can support your body's ability to do those things itself. Avocados are not a miracle, but they're not a menace either. They're a complex, nutrient-rich fruit that, when respected, can play a beautiful role in a balanced, thoughtful diet. But like everything in medicine and in life, it all depends on the individual. Your health, your body, your story. Use avocado with clarity, not with blind faith, and you'll be better for it.